Welcome to Neon Math. Our goal today is to solve one-step equations using multiplication and or division. Most of you have been messing around with algebra, pre-algebra for a long time. When you were really little, when you didn't know something, they'd put a question mark or a star or some cool symbol. Basically, that's what algebra is. Trying to always discover the unknown. To make things easy, we use letters. A through Z, they all work pretty well. When you get into Greek letters, there's some Greek letters like pi that we all agreed stand for a certain particular number, so we don't use those as much for our unknown variables. Today, I'm just going to use some normal x, j, y, etc. In each of these problems, I want to isolate the variable. I want to get the x by itself. I want to get the j by itself. I want to solve for y, get the y by itself. And each of these problems are going to have something in the way that's not going to allow me to have it by itself to start with. So I'm going to have to untangle these equations. The first big tool I have to do that is called opposite operations. When I come into a problem, I'm going to say, what is holding this 3 that I want to get rid of? What's holding it here on this side of the equation? What's holding this 2 here? What's holding this 3.5 here? And I'm going to figure out what operation is holding it there and what is the opposite operation that I can use to untangle it. In this case, I have a multiplication. And what is the opposite of multiplication? The opposite of multiplication is division. Multiplication can look like a dot. It can look like the old-fashioned multiplication symbol. Or it can just be a number bumped up against a letter, which I can squeeze my little dot in there. Division, you got the classic division, which if you look closely at it is a fraction. Or we can have something divided by something else using this little fraction bar. And that's what we're going to see most of today. First problem, multiplied by 3. What is the opposite of multiplying by 3? Well, we decided the opposite of multiplication is division, and I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3. That's going to get those to cancel out. 3 divided by 3 is 1. If I do it to one side of the equation, I have to go do it to the other side of the equation. Those canceled. I could write 1x, but the 1 is there. It's understood. I like to keep it invisible when I can. And 21 divided by 3 is 7. I have my answer. Yay. I can go take that 7, plug it back in. Is 7 times 3 21? Yes, it is. I did good. Ding. Next problem. I have a division. I could come check down here. What's the opposite of division? Oh, it's multiplication. All right, so let's bring out my multiplication. The opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. And if I do it to one side of this equal sign, I'm going to go divide it, multiply it to the other side of the equal sign, because anything divided by itself becomes 1 except 0. And it cancels out. If you want to be all technical and everything, this was on top of a 1. And the numerator and denominator, they canceled out or divided, and they're gone. Anyways, j equals, and 17 times 2 is 34. Problem solved. 34 divided by 2, is that 17? Yes, you bet it is. All right, let's get a little more difficult with decimals. Are you afraid of decimals? Don't be. Are they a pain in the neck sometimes? Yeah, but we can deal with them. This is being multiplied here, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. Doesn't matter if it's a decimal, a whole number, a positive, a negative. The opposite of multiplying is still dividing. And if I do it to one side, blah, blah, blah. 3.5 divided by 3.5 is 1. Now it gets a little bit tougher right here. How can we figure out what's 10.5 divided by 3.5? Use your calculator, you'll get 3. Done. I'm going to think of it as money. How many 350s could fit into 1050? 350 plus 350 is 7, so that's 2 of them. 7 plus 350 more would be 1050. That's 3 of them. Yay! Now, if you're not allowed to use a calculator or you want to figure out how to do this using long division, You're in YouTube, go search long division, or just search division with decimals, and you'll get a nice little tutorial. Otherwise, let me just show you how it would be written. It would be written as 10.5 divided by 3.5. So that goes outside, and then they're going to tell you, bounce your decimal, bounce your decimal. And then you're just basically doing 35 into 105. We can do that. Okay. Would I ever use this in the real world? And of course, teachers, whenever we want to talk about the real world, we bust out the pizza and the skateboards. And okay. So here I have a pizza. And let's just say I had this totally not real world problem at all. And I said, okay, if I counted and found out that 3/4 of a pizza, 3/4 of, we can call of multiplication, 3/4 of a pizza is 6 slices. How many slices was in the original pizza? Somebody's counting, they're like, there's only 7 pieces. Okay, fine, let's make it full. There you go, there's 8 pieces now. You could figure this out, but let's use algebra to do it. I'm gonna get my green. Here we go. Now, there's 2 ways to do this. The one way is, I'm not very happy about it. We can do the whole fractional thing, but I'm going to show you the way I do it, which it's really the same way, but you don't have to think of it the same way. And anyways, what's the opposite of multiplying? It's dividing. And how do we divide out a fraction? Well, the opposite of, when we're messing with fractions, instead of dividing, we multiply by the reciprocal. So if I had 3/4 divided by 3/4, I change that to multiplying by the reciprocal of 3/4, means flip it upside down. So 4 on top, 3 on the bottom. And then I could go ahead and multiply it, and 3 times 4 would be 12. And on the bottom, 4 times 3 would be 12. And 12 divided by 12 would be 1. And those would cancel out. And yay, wouldn't that be great? But I'd have to go do that to the other side too. I'm dividing 3/4 to both sides. So I'd have 6 divided by 3/4. But I would go ahead and change that divided by 3/4 into multiply by 3/4. Sorry, multiply by 4/3, the reciprocal. I'm going to throw a 1 up under there. And with multiplication of fractions, really easy. You just multiply across the top, across the bottom, and it's so nice and neat. 24 divided by 3. And we're going to get 8 over there. Okay? So my answer would be x equals 8. All right. So you can slow that down and you can watch it carefully, and that's how you do it with fractions. Now let me show you how I do it. I don't like messing around with fractions like that. So what I do is I say, hey, okay, this is being multiplied. You know what? The opposite of division here is multiplication. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this 4 out of here and get rid of it. So I'm going to multiply the 4 to the other side. I'm allowed to. The opposite of division is multiplication. And now I'm just left with this 3x. It's 24. And the opposite of multiplying is dividing. And now I'm left with 24 divided by 3 is 8. An original pizza had 8 slices, which you could have counted. 3/4 of an 8-slice piece of pizza is 6. Makes sense. If you're like, that's not a very real world, I don't need to show you a real world problem when it comes to basic algebra, because you do them all the time. Anytime you and your friends are trying to figure out, or you and anybody else, somebody in your family trying to figure out, okay, how many of us need to pitch in, and how much do we need to pitch in so we could come up with this, and this is the price, and how much is the tax going to be? Everything you don't know in that problem could have been an X or a Y or a combination of those, because you're doing some complicated algebra. You guys do some pretty complicated algebra in real life. A decent amount. All right? So, real world, there we go. Now, I want to show you some fractions. No, I don't. I'm done with fractions. I want to show you some positive and negative numbers. I'm not going to be the teacher who brings in the hard problems on the test that I never taught you how to do. So don't forget that this is being held here by multiplication. What's being held here? This -3. The opposite of multiplying that -3 is dividing that -3. And if I divide it to one side, I'll get to divide it to the other, and it's gone. Notice I didn't do anything. The opposite of minus is plus. No, I have to do the opposite operation of what's holding this to this side of the equation. And in this case, it was being stuck to this variable by multiplication, so I had to divide it. All right, that's gone. I have x equals a positive divided by a negative, or a negative divided by a positive, doesn't matter. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. Would -9 times -3 be positive 27? Yes, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Wowzers. Let me try to sneak in one more problem. Let's change our color. Okay. I have a negative x over 3 equals 6. I can put the negative up top, or I could put it down at the bottom. It's my choice for this, just because I'm going to, but you can't put it on both, okay? You have to pick one. I'm going to put it up top because I want to show you something. All right, let's do this problem. The opposite of dividing by 3 is multiplying, and I'm going to multiply it to both sides. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and I'm left here with -x equals 18. Did I get x by itself? No, I didn't. Almost, but I didn't quite do it because I have this negative here, which I have to get rid of. And this is really a -1 multiplied times x. Remember that. Negative sign is a -1 being multiplied. If you remember that, it makes it a little easier to untangle. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So let's divide this -1 to both sides. It leaves us with x equals. This is a messy screen. I like to get messy sometimes to show. It's how it looks like on your math paper. Your pencil and paper and pencil sharpeners. 18 divided by -1 is -18. Let's plug that in and see if it would work. A negative -18 is positive 18. Divided by 3 is 6. It works. All right. Time for you to test yourself. All right? Are you ready? I want you to try these 4 problems. Your goal is to get 3 of these right. If you're really careful, maybe use a calculator, pay close attention to decimals and positives and negatives, maybe you'll get 4 out of 4. If not, that's what we're here for. We're here to learn, and it's totally okay. So pause the video and give these a try. All right, welcome back. Let's jump in here. This is multiplication. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. And if I do it to one side, you know. 33 divided by 11 is 3. 3 times 11 is 33. Yes, sirree. This is division here. So we're going to come in with our super multiplication powers. 7. Multiply 7 to both sides. These cancel. 7 divided by 7 becomes a 1. And y equals. If you don't remember any of your times table, 7 times 7 is 49. That's a fun one. 7 squared, 7 times itself is 49. Is 49 divided by 7, 7? You bet. Okay, decimals. 0.5 times w, opposite of multiplying 0.5 is dividing 0.5. I know a lot of teachers will put the little 0 in the front, 0.5, and just follow it around everywhere. I'm sorry, I don't do that as much as I should. The science teachers like it when we do that. Anyways, it's the same thing. These canceled, leaving me with w equals, oh no, how many 0.5s can fit into 7.5? On my calculator, how many 50 cents can fit into a 750? It's 15. And after this, when you watched your how to divide decimal video, you can come back in time and you'll be able to do that. All right, final problem. Here's that negative that I taught you. Opposite of multiplying is dividing, and we divide it to both sides. These cancel. A negative 15 divided by negative 15 is positive 1. And here we go, x equals. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 45 divided by 15 is 3. Is 3 times negative 15 negative 45? You bet it is. Look how we did. I hope you did great. In general, at the bottom right side of your screen, there's a gear. If I talk too fast in my videos, hit on that gear, go to speed, and speed it up. If you want me to go faster, slow it down if you want me to go slower. All right, I hope you learned something today. It's been great. Have a wonderful afternoon and take care of yourself.